that one happen. Why do you think that gives them the direct comparison? Do you think Pickles is going to know exactly play by play what they're going to do?
This is the thing. Pickles left about, what, 2 weeks ago or so? Actually, was it before Masters? Yeah, it was before Masters started. Actually, Dance was the player that replaced him, and in 1 month, a lot can change. And that Xenex lineup with Pickles wasn't together too long, so maybe they didn't even go over train. Then again, Pickles potentially knowing the tendencies and whatnot of the Xenex side, but Dance's in the last map, if he can bring the same form here, we could be seeing a 2-0.
Yeah, looking to see if that 2-0 will begin to take hold, but for now, it is just going to be the conclusion of this knife round coming very, very soon. And it is going to be Fish, so we can see, are they going to start on that T side or hop on over towards the CT side? It's going to be waiting for that one to really take hold. And it looks like the swap is going to be potentially called. And yeah, they are already well and truly on the ball, as Cryptic's acutely going to mention. Because there we have it, the swap. It does come on in, it's going to be Fish over on the CT side, Xenex over on the T side, and we're going to swing straight into this pistol round. It's going to be 5 sets of Kevlar for Fish, so just looking to really pin this one down. No kit, nothing too crazy, just those Kevlars. And then, of course, on the Xenex side of things, it's a bit more utility focused. They've got themselves 2 smokes and a whole lot of flashes behind that now. They're going for this on the basis that they want some utility for a push, frankly put. Looks like potentially is going to be a bit of a B hit unless they decide to dive down through Pop Doggers. Those glass windows, they are going to be smashed, which certainly gives us the idea that a fake could be on the cards. But in the same regard, JT, he's lining up for a smoke. This could be very nice coming out from them, but it's patience as Rattlesnake is actually going to be going for a bit of a push and nets himself quite a bit of information as a flash is going to go off, but it's going to go off in a bit of a vague direction. There's still no information to be garnered, yet they're still very bunched up as a team on a whole. Jakey going to be dropping down through Pop with now diving towards the left side of these trains, and Cryptix, he's home towards diving now. He's trying to pin things down, gets that first headshot on towards Peggy. Jakey will respond with one on towards Rattlesnake. Dante's another on towards Pickles Mole in return. This is a frenzy right now. A 3v3 is where we find ourselves situated, but anything can happen here. The D side, they've got themselves on the site, but the CT side, they're ever so close. They're literally practically hugging their opposition. So who's going to get the shots? So Cryptix slaps on towards the head of Jakey. Shaney now pushing up close and personal to try and find that trade, and he does the job again, so a 2v2. Mole now pushing up close to Shaney. Feels like I'm always looping over myself, repeating in a state of repetition as JT the headshot on towards Mole, and Xenex, they will come up trumps. A pistol round going to be on the board for them. Sets himself up in a comfortable stance, but they're not getting away from this one easily. They still have to put up a solid fight. It's not just going to be, oh, alright guys, we're up against the Nico now. We can just gloss on through. No, Fish, they're going for this one. Guns blazing. Pistols are plenty. They've got some utility, of course, the flashes. And most importantly is going to be the smokes on Mole and Rattlesnake. And Cryptix with the scout as well. He'll be looking for those tags. And basically, if he finds a tag, pistols, their whole kind of ideology is, okay, you find a tag, we'll mop up the rest. Either way, Dante's coming in there with the SMG. Fires off a couple, but it leads to, well, a bit of a void for now. The flash is going to go off, and they're just trying to bait a bit of responsibility. Okay, are you going to go aggressive? Which, talking about aggression, Dante's, he lives up to that, and Rattlesnake is going to punish him. Weber now looking for a headshot, and the 1-by-1 peaks. This could be extremely painful now for the T-side. They're pushing straight into Weber. How is he getting away with this one? Finds himself the tag. Cryptix with the scout. Goes for another, gets it on towards Heaven. Shaney, a 1v4, 30 HP. Xenex, are you throwing this one away again? This is unbelievable. Shaney trying to make it happen. Got himself the rifle, finds the frag on towards Rattlesnake, but Cryptix, he's going to end it with the USP. Fish, they get themselves the return with the force up, but that should not have been, well, able. Of course, the Xenex, we use that kind of whole idea of a tug of war in terms of the counterplays and the constant force-ups, but right now, for them to do too much into this one, it's going to be a tough ask. We are going to see a double scout play coming from Shaney and Dances, but the comparison for me is on the C2 side, you can find those tanks, you can withdraw, and you can kind of hold the angles with the pistols. On the T side, you have to go aggressive, you have to make a play, and, well, again, we talk about aggression. Rattlesnake, he does the job, the shotgun, there to claim the life of JT. Shaney is going to get knocked down to 64 HP. Nothing too crazy just yet. Cryptix will be, of course, looking for his life with that scout. He's just going to be holding the angle ever so dearly. Falls back away from Ivy, so being a little bit more passive about things. Rattlesnake going to lose his life to the hands of Jakey. Should be quickly ended, but no, Pickles, a bit of a blunder. Enables Xenex to find this, and are we seeing another reversal? Because this is a 4v2. And I can't believe what I'm witnessing yet again. Dancy's another headshot on towards Cryptix, of course. The bomb has found its way down over towards that A site. Fish, they have to be questioning how on earth are they even going to get remotely close, let alone play for the win. Which, of course, I'd say is pretty fair and pretty justified on why they're going for what is almost a guaranteed save. You know, we talk about theoretics. How are they going to get close? Let's run down. They've got a smoke. They've got a flash. They could try and flash in through connector and go for that 2-pronged attack. that smoke could be the kind of aiding factor to get out. But once they get out from connector, where are they going to face? If they try and face towards Pop Dog, they're leaving themselves open from behind. If they try and face further forward, they're always basically going to be open. That's kind of the moral of this story. No matter where they peek, there's always going to be someone in another angle facing them, and it's never really going to work. So saving a rifle and an SMG, much better for Fish, and it does enable them to kind of toy with the idea of doing something in this round off the back of that, as we could see some drops. We could just see them go for these light pistols. Another scout, of course, going to come into play. That seems to be a given in this matchup so far, as Pickles, the man to be wielding it. But for Xenex, it's not amazingly great. They still have to keep Shaney and Dances on the scout themselves respectively, so certainly a lot of long-range based play. But if there's a map for long-range, Train, it's probably one of the best at that. Snake still living up yet again to bringing the heat. Something that seems to sit idly by him as he's been going aggressive so far throughout this match, and looking into it a little bit again, but certainly has a bit of a teething pain when it comes down to it, taking it nice and slow, but gets faced directly into Shaney. And the CZ, more close range, it's his best friend, as the frag will be found. Pickles faces somewhat over towards Ivy, but I do like the fact that Fish are, falling back. They're not necessarily choosing to face straight up, and arguably whether that's down to the read or just trying to play it safe, either or, they're both win-wins for the CT side. Of course, Cryptix is going to peek out through the tips of Ivy, looking to head up towards, or back towards, should we say now, as he's going to fall back and net some information. So now they know Ivy is clear. They can either say, okay, they're going to all in us towards the site, which, I don't even need to run through the rest of the theoretics, as they know that it's going to be that all in the smokes. They are going to be landing. The scout, though, that angle has not been covered. Pickles could do so much work here. Finds the headshot on towards JT, looking now for the second on towards JT. Pickles, are you kidding me? The second on towards JT gets it through the smoke. Mole on the site on towards Dances, and it leaves Peggy all alone. So many angles to check. Cryptix going to overwhelm with the 5-7, and Fish, they keep up the fight. They bring us back to that 2-2, and, well, how wrong we were in a nutshell, to be honest. We talk about that tug of war. We never expected it to get to this 2-2, constantly these rounds being traded backwards and forwards. Who's actually going to get this string? Who's going to actually grind out and get more than one in a row, actually start getting things together, getting themselves an economy? And it looks like Xenex, they've decided, you know what, as much as we want our stake in this, it's time for us to concede. It's time for us to go for that eco. It's not meritable for them to invest too much money into this one, and well, I think that is a smart call. It's, at the end of the day, it comes down to someone has to submit, someone has to play for the more, longevity side of things, and Xenex to go for that, well, arguably being the bigger person, but also still making themselves an opportunity. Shaky, the headshot on towards Cryptix, but Mole and Pickles, they're going to restore a level of normality. Shane, you can do a little bit more, and the fact that Pickles couldn't quite find that is a little bit rough, but still, it is just pistols. Shane has picked himself up a rifle with a 1v3. Well, I don't want to use the word impossible, because apparently we've learnt today, never go full Moses, never commit to the 100%. Which, thankfully, we didn't. Shaney, he is going to be knocked down a peg, and we find ourselves with Fish getting themselves onto that streak. They've got themselves their last two. But where are they going to go from this? Because Xenex, they put a level of backing into this, but I'm looking at their money right now, and to be honest, this isn't giving me a kind of an urge to say, okay, buy around this, which is exactly why they're not. They're going to go for, what you could consider to be a bit of a half buy here and there. Jakey getting himself up some Kevlar, they've got some utility. They're going to be looking to try and play for a bomb plant at minimum. That would be ideal for them. Damage, well, that's just going to be an added bonus. But will they get the bomb plant? That's a pretty serious question. Of course, the utility they have, those 4 smokes, they could just go for a quick and comfortable execute. But then we talk about smokes. JT, first line to fall. But those smokes, they are going to be going off, and well, my one concern, smokes, they act as a shroud, they hide you. But that doesn't mean you're invisible. It's not the whole, okay, well, if I can't see them, they can't see me. No, that's not the case. We've seen so many shots coming in through these smokes, and well, it doesn't even matter anymore as they dived over towards the B side, but they're walking into Weber's crosshair. Dancy tries to go for a preemptive jump, but just doesn't quite make it work, and just enable the mowdown. Peggy, though, with the deagle, that is insane. How does he get away with it yet again? 2 quick shots right around the corner, but he has to play for so much more, playing for the ace at this point. Mole, his head is next on the platter. Is it going to connect? The answer, well, there you have it. Going to be a bit of denial. Mole going to shut him out. But I don't want to take that away from Peggy. If anything, I'm going to step back and give him some props, because that was, well, that was something else. Leaving us a 4-2 scoreline. Now, looking at the way this is swinging, it is looking relatively solid from Fish, but in the same regard, it's so early days to make anything work, because we've been waiting for this buy from Xenex. Now, this is a pretty huge round for them in terms of momentum, and most importantly, you know, the missing link, the AWP of Shaney. But we talk about that. He's stuck in a corner right now. He's trying to try and peek. Mole is going aggressive, and pretty much Fish, they're trying to mount the pressure on all fronts. Rattlesnake, he drops down on towards Peggy. Where is the response? Shaney, are you asleep? You need to do something there. But he sits tight. He doesn't want to lose at the AWP, leaving him in a 3v5. And I know a 3v5 is workable. I know they can try and find a pick, they can play around that, but that feels like a dastardly mistake because on the T side, when you're this zoned out and there's still a good chunk of utility left from the CT side point of view, it's going to be so tough for Xenex to try and get themselves back into this. We need to see some sort of response. Whether they group up as a team, that may feel like one of the best plays they can make at this point. But Mole, again, going aggressive. Finds himself a quick and easy headshot on towards Dancy. Jakey looks up towards Ivy, goes for the continuous spray, but it's only going to net in one. Now, Shaney, the man of the match should be Shay, or the man of the hour more appropriately. We talked about him needing to have a bit of a response. Doesn't quite save his teammate, but the fact he's finding now good up to Natalia, make this one at least, well, at least doable, should we say, as 44 HP is his number. Being pushed in from every single angle, has to be very aware of his surroundings, which, accreditation to him. He knows Mole's from behind, so he's going to hold the angle. He's going to sit tight, but with 25 seconds on the board, give or take a few. His time, well, it is going to be up. It comes down to, you have to save. Is he going to check his right corner? The answer is going to be no. He sees in the knife. It's going to be coming out, but Shaney, he finds the no-scope. Mole, he tries for the money, tries for the stab. Won't quite connect it, but it is still the save. So nothing too crazy. Can't expect Shaney to be doing anything in a matter of 5 seconds. Not quite Usain Bolt, unfortunately. Going to get himself on the site. But hey, a little bit more damage to be done. It means that Fish, well, maybe not going to be building up in too huge of a manner, but in the same sort of regard, stringing together the last 4. 10k on Rattlesnake, 10k on Weber. I wouldn't take my chances if I were you. Of course, 5 for 2. Rolling into what will be our 8. And Xenex in this, off the back of that save, it does put them in a bit of a predicament because they want to play around this AWP. They don't want to cast Shaney out on an island. But in the same regard, what is the line for them? Well, I think it's fairly sensible for them. They don't want to invest too much, but they do invest just enough to be supporting the Kevlar and the Tech 9s. But how do they approach this? So far, it's a lot of grouping action. They have kind of put Jakey over towards Ivy, and he's the man just to kind of almost be a bit of a baiting point of view for this T side. A flash is going to be popped from JT, so certainly being more aware of the CD side composition, the fact they do like to go aggressive, and Jakey pushing right up through Ivy. Cryptic's not quite aware of this one, but eventually goes to the white face. He does get the frag. Still, all our eyes going to be drawn most magnetically to that AWP. That pretty much could change the face of this round. If it doesn't work, that'd be great, but already going to be deleted. Mole now with the elevated angle finds himself the double spray down, looking for that tertiary frag, and Peggy, well, is going to try and dance through the smoke, but he can only weave so far. He will eventually try to back up in towards that alleyway, the corridor that leads you down, but well, he's greeted by only one thing, and there's going to be nades at his feet. Peggy, at least find himself that one towards Mole, but that is going to be just that. Fish, they get themselves their 6th, and Xenex. Great stuff from them in the fact they didn't over-invest, which means they can go into this one with another fresh face buy. But Shaney, he's going to be on the lower side of things. But when you look towards their economy, if they just go for 5 flat rifles, the Galil, of course, on towards Shaney, it does give them some sort of level of money in the bank. Again, nothing too huge at $1,100 in Dancy, but it's an overall much more well put together buy. And it does give you that kind of thought process of, okay, throw and execute, go aggressive, try and force the hand of Fish, try and wake them up, give them basically the equivalent of a slap in the face. Talk about those smokes. Well, there's the old faithful. We can see him landing on out over towards the safe site. They're actually going to commit to things. As Dancy's, hey, you're all alone. Your teammates, they're not even close. They are leaving you to do everything. And well, you can push through the smoke now, guys. But at this point, you're just giving this up. Xenex, what are you doing? How are you letting this one happen? You need to go together. Where was the team playing that? Big mistakes coming in from them in this round, and not at all what I want to be seeing. But Fish taking advantage of the CT side. Xenex struggling to get things too close, and I think calling a pause at this point, smart. Of course, from a pause point of view, there's a lot more potential for them to really actually fix things. A tactical pause for a team, there's so much more you can do in comparison to a mixed team, because say for example Fish, they get behind and they call a tactical pause. What are they going to talk about aside from trying to come up with setups on the fly, trying to just test stuff they've not really tried in the game to see if the players and everything fits well together? In comparison for Xenex, a lot of this stuff is stuff that they have practiced, they put well together, so they know what works, they know what doesn't work, they know where the mistakes are going to be found. this gives them so much room to just go through these talking points. Go, okay, you know what, we're going to change this. We're going to go a little bit quicker. We're going to go a little bit slower in these spots. We're going to put more emphasis towards Ivy. We're going to try and work towards B. We're going to put more emphasis towards the upper side of B, because in fairness, that's actually a point that we can go into. The upper side of B, it's not really been touched. We saw Shaney go there once with the AWP when they had those pistols, you know, to support it. Especially in that sort of round where you are relying on those supporting figures in the AWP to find an impact frag. I wouldn't really count that as, okay, yeah, they found one pick, if that. We need to see something more, and I think variation, maybe grouping up, going for a bit of a 2-to-3 split, 2 on the heaven side, 3 on the lower side, maybe a call in itself. Perhaps we could see some work towards Ivy. We have seen a lot of bulked up executes. But the thing about their executes, and we saw this over towards A main in fact, was they throw down these smokes, they then get themselves into position to actually converge onto the site. But then Dancy, he pushes out first. Then a good 7-8 seconds later, the rest of his team come through bunch up as a lineup. Now, they can check for a stack, but when they're on a full buy up against another full buy, they have that read. What is the perk of that? It is still going to be, of course, that long, drawn-out pause. So, questions certainly to be raised. For Xenex for this one, they are going to be going to this with rifles. And it looks like JT has made the call. They are ready and waiting. Looks like they've actually, you know, decided, you know what, we want to see an AWP, which is the topic we didn't really touch on at all. And in fairness, I can see why. They want it with a full buy, which is something that Shaney struggled with, because he's pretty much relying on his pistols. Something we've dug way too much into now. So we're going to leave that one, you know, put it to rest. Let's see what the Tech9s and Kevlar can do now. Kevlar's and Tech9, should we say. Again, stressing the point, they have to go together. But it looks like this time around they are going to be living up to that. They go with a bunched up unit, and surprise, surprise, they net themselves a frag. If only they could do this earlier. Either way, it's going to be Shaney. Finds himself another headshot on towards Pickles. Cryptics trying to be the anchor. He's doing a perfect job and finds himself a 3K mole with another. And Weber will tell it off with the 5th. Fish, they find their cherry, and they slam it on top. Either way, Xenex, we know that they went for a play based around an AWP. They saved, went for a bit of a half by here and there, but it was all relying on this 11th round now. It's going to be incredibly important. If they lose this 11th round, we're looking at more damage to be inflicted, and Fish really starting to bulk up their scoreline. So it's pivotal they make something work, and realistically, Shaney, we need to pick. That's what we're really looking towards. It is going to be a much more spread out default. Some presence over towards Ivy will be gained. Have, of course, got JT making sure that Snake doesn't get too comfortable in pop lock. Certainly a lot of pressure beginning to build up towards Ivy though. It's something we mentioned at the start, but that was a 2-man setup. Now it's really translated into this triple setup of Jakey, Shaney and Darcy's, and we'll see if Cryptix is going to lose his life or not, because if he does get that pick, you know, claimed onto his assault, that'd be perfect. But in the same regard, look at the amount of damage that's being inflicted. JT, 6 HP, the nades going to land at their feet even further, so it's beginning to add on up, and well, Shaney gets himself the information, gets the pick on towards Pickles, and this is where things can kick into high gear for the Xenex side. JT, of course, we mentioned just how low he was. Still sitting over towards this pop block side of things. Throws a smoke over, out now, on towards that A site. And if he can basically be a solid lurker at this point, just make sure he keeps one of at least... Basically, we're looking at that and going past rapidly either way. That'd be perfect. Cryptix will find himself that double kill. Dancy's to pick up the trade. And the elevated angle could be a bit of a welcome change of pace. The bomb is going to make its way down through the corridor of Ivy. How smart of a play is this going to be as they potentially cross? Face wide. Mole going to punish him. JT will peek one out from Pop and catch the wrap. Say Peggy now over towards Ivy. Finds another headshot on towards Mole, and this is doable. But then look at the HPs, 5 and 6 respectively. A shot from Weber on each, and that is that. And when we talk about a shot, he's over towards Pop Dog. JT knows his position. He needs to just sit tight here, pretty much rely on the fact that Peek is going to come in. But Peggy, he doesn't quite peek enough, and that alone means that he's out of this one. But Peggy with a drive-by headshot, huge shot coming in from him, and wins his team the round. Xenex, they're back on the board. They're back on the fight. But I don't think it's over just yet. They have a whole onslaught beginning to build on its way, because Fish, they have so much money in the bank. $15,300 on Weber. Tremendous amounts. They are rolling in it at this point. The Xenex, they have to know the fight by no means over just yet, and anything, it's only just getting started. There's going to be some early utility to be brought to the table. Xenex, they have themselves 5 rifles, so it is that lack of longer range pressure, but hey, perhaps tempo, something they're looking to exploit this time around. It is going to be that same default. They've got a man over towards Pop Dog, keeping control of the B side of things and making sure that, yet again, Rattlesnake is too comfortable over towards that pop rock spot when he tends to rotate back through. That triple man stack over towards Ivy, it did its job last time. They found the picks on towards the site and they opened it up, and for Xenex right now, that 10 opening, well, they have to be able to repeat it. Now, repeating that is a much, much harder task in itself, because Fish, they're going to be aware that, okay, one of our weak points has been Ivy, so if we just play passive, we have to force them into his crossfire, and that's why we're seeing the position of Cryptix and Maul. They're pretty much saying, okay, you want Ivy? Come and get it. Push into us. And the minute they do, flashes are going to be popped. These guys, they should be able to find the frags, but the brute force technique from Xenex throws a bit of a wrench into the works. And Shaney find the first headshot onto a Cryptix, flings out for the second, and Mole. This crossfire gets nothing done. Pickles, he's trying to be the third man in, tries to make something work for his team, only manages to find himself two, but still, you can argue that as the job being done as we find ourselves pitched in a 2v2. Darcy's still trying to come his way out, but the information is going to be right there. Rattlesnake, he's up on the elevated spot with this M4, finds himself the shot on towards Darcy, catches off his shoulders, and Peggy, a 1v2. Where can he run at this one? He's got 20 seconds on the board. He has to go for this. He's trying to isolate Rattlesnake, take that 1v1. But that's going to be a difficult task, because surely Rattlesnake has the brains to realize he doesn't have to peek. He can just sit tight. Look at the map right now. Look at how close they are to each other. Peggy still running on around. Rattlesnake, he's heard those steps. They know exactly what is going to be going on. Peggy, oh, the minute he spots that face, that is the face of death right there. He knows it is all but over. As Fish, they break any momentum Xenex thought they had. Look at their economy. They are broke. They don't know how to approach this. They don't know where to go. Their T-side on train. Looking pretty uncomfortable. As Fish, well, they're back on the money front. It's back building things up, and we're pretty much, from the Xenex side of things, banking on them doing something huge with these pistols. If they can't make something work, we're looking at 10-3, and from there, 5 rounds. It's got to be that minimum for the T side. 5, 4, they could make something work, but it does rely on that pistol round as well. Which we talk of pistol rounds. You have to remember, Xenex, they won the pistol. Well, a quick follow-up from Fish. Make things a little more uncomfortable, and well, almost a bit of a throwback just to how unexpected that was. So now it is going to be the quick flash push lining out from Xenex. The goal here would be an on bomb plant, which, judging from the distance Fish are playing, this should be possible, and they have got themselves at least across to the site, buying enough time for, at minimum, that plant, so not going to be complaining at all. How much damage can they inflict? Because JT just another headshot on towards Pickles, so really going to be adding to that tally. That means, is this anything crazy? As Cryptix and Malt, they will combine. And the mop, well, in full swing for Fish. The only man really not to do anything in that round was Rattlesnake, and well, he just lobbed out the utility and was just enough to slow them down. Of course, that does pit us at that 10-3 scoreline, and well, Xenex, they have a couple of ideas, but nothing has really worked out for them. The Ivy push, it was smart, but once they done it, Fish, they were kind of aware of it, and as well, you add into the fact that it was clutched. And now you have to add an auto sniper from Weber. This is ballsy, but if it works, Xenex, they're going to be knocked down even further, and you have to look at the fact and go, Xenex, they've invested everything they've got into this. They need this round. Push, they're going to line him up, finds himself 2 frags for his troubles. Jakey will respond. The M4 from Cryptix going to be able to catch off Jakey in return, so trades are plenty. The auto shot does not even have to do too much just yet, and is going to get punished by Shady as he goes for the free throw through the smoke, but JT going to be pushing up towards that bomb train, trying to make the play for his team to win this one. And it's going to be Cryptix turning his back that makes that possible, but Mole, he's still on the site. He's sitting ever so comfortably, brings it back to a 1v1. Shaney with the AWP up against Mole with the rifle. They're standing around the smoke. Shaney not going to go for the pre-fire. He's holding the push, but that's not going to happen. You have to give merit to Mole. He sat back over towards Connector, but at the same time, looks like he may even be walking towards Pop Dog. So much time for Shaney to work with in this as well. He can pretty much plant this wherever he so chooses. But there is that kind of problem, which the longer he takes to clear the site, and the more comfortable he gets, the problem he's got when Mole will come in from Pop Dog, and he will try and end his days. But this smart plant from Shaney, should we say, is great, because it means that once he gets that plant down, he can pull back in towards Ivy. And realistically, Mole's not going to have too much information, but he gets the free peek. A little bit of tagging damage to be found, but nothing too crazy. And Mole now going quick and aggressive. The flash is just not going to do Shaney any favours at all. And Mole, he makes it work. Fish, well, they crushed Xenex once again, and this is looking even more uncomfortable behind a second. And well, I hope for our sake, I've not seen Xenex put too much into train. Not really had the pleasure of it in the past, but I'm, well, crossing my fingers, beginning to pray. Their CT side, it needs to be flawless. Going into this, intrigued to see what Xenex can bring to the table, and we knew their economy was going to be crushed. Thankfully, it's a little better than what we expected, which does net them those Galils. but it's a whole load of Galils. 4 Galils in play, 1 AK-47 on Shaney, and look at the just aggression coming out from Fish. They know it works. Weber, he's feeling so confident right now, but does he realize that he's going to have a cluster of 4 players pushing on into him any second now as he sits around the smoke, goes for the elevated angle, up on towards Jakey. If he even stays alive, well, this is going to be ridiculous, but Shaney thankfully going to punish him normality, yet again being brought back to the table, but the pre-molly from Rattlesnake, great stuff because it means they have to push him out through. Now they know Rattlesnake's position, but he's still looking to do so much damage. The long spray from Shaney will net the frag, but look how much damage has been done nonetheless. 11 HP on Shaney, so much. And a number so easy to be pinched on away as it is that 3v3. They try and cross, but you're walking into Pickle's crosshair. You are asking for it at this point. And JT tries to take the longer range battles, but long range battles with the Galil, rather you than I. Simone, you're looking to get up close and personal. And JT is going to punish that. Cryptic's facing yet again almost very discoordinated from the rest of his team, leaving it back on towards the shoulders of Pickles. A 1v1. So he's going to peek one out, looking to hold the angle, but he gets the headshot. Xenex, well, off the back of Pickles, picking himself up 4 frags in that clutch. It's going to be a complete nice train wreck of a T-side for them. 12-3 is going to be the half-line score. And, well, we said it once, I'm going to say it again. That CT side from Xenex, it's got to be absolutely perfect. If it's not, well, we're pretty much going to be getting to the end of this one. Pistol round, very, very important in itself, because if this pistol does sway into the fader of Fish, then we're looking at 13, of course, that's a given. But then the big one is, are we going to get to 14? Because Xenex will have to basically come back with that counteracting play. We saw that happen in the first half, though, so we're not going to write it off completely. And I do think that we're not going to look at this one, especially with how swayed Train is as a map in general. Well, for now, let's just look at all the information in front of us. Let's look at what happens. Dantes is going to be playing up from the elevated angle. Gets themselves so much information to work with. Fish, they've been pretty much given the site. Xenex, I wouldn't quite call this a retake setup, just because of their positions. It's a bit uncomfortable, especially as Cryptics and Mole now going to find themselves the headshots. Well, they have to have tally, and a very, very weird setup from Xenex, and one that is... I'm not quite sure what to say at this point. That is not going to do the job. Clean sweep from Fish in that pistol. I hope Xenex can make this round work. If they don't, if they decide to just hedge their bets and save, what are they going to do in the follow-ups? They're pretty much relying on so many rounds in a row. I appreciate basically the cojones on them. They've got some serious ones at that. But it feels like we are at that point now. Calling it is, of course, a little early, but the amount of damage already being done. Let's see if they can do anything with these pistols at least to return the fader. It is going to be a couple of tanks here and there. Without finding initial frag on towards Peggy. Makes it to a second. Shaney is going to tap on away with the USP, but Mole going aggressive, trying to make some money with the SMG, and he's got a player right behind him, but the trade not quite going to be found until eventually Shaney will fade on away, and JT trying to deny that plant. So some great stuff coming out from these guys as they just tap on away, try and find these headshots. Now, if they can bring this back to a 2v1, they have numbers on their side. But right now, they're struggling for that tune. Weber with the deal, well, practically crushes that dream. Shaney will fall, JT next to follow. 14-3 will be the scoreline. Fish's name, well, it's being screamed at the top of their lungs at this point as Xenex struggling so hard to get going on this map at all. But it's looking like that mixed team Price completely catching Xenex off guard. But they put emphasis on this. They wanted this. This is them squeezing out everything they've got off the back of not investing into that initial second round force-up. Let's take you through it. A UMP, Thanos, backed up by a second, of course. They've got the scout on towards Dances and the rifle on towards Shaney off that M4. Are they going to get anything done with it as Shaney gets it very, very close, nearly whiffing some crucial shots, but does get that initial pick. But it's going to be quick trade back around, like looking for that second. Another mess up by Peggy, but there's going to be that trading game, a 3v3. The Fish, they're on the site. The Tech 9 of Cryptic going to be pushing up close and personal. Dante's got so much work to do. He's got a scout in his back pocket. It's going to be such a tough one. JT from Connector will swing on in, but look at these spots. Jakey right behind Mole. Great positioning from him as an individual. But Weber, he's on a complete different side. JT, going to try and face him nice and wide. Not going to lead to anything just yet. The individual peak. Speechless. Weber, certainly looking to contest this one before even going for that plan. He's just going to hold it. He's being so patient about this. And Jakey going to peek on into it, but just as Weber goes back to try and play for that initial plant after going for that read, he will get essentially caught out. So Xenex, a lifeline has been inserted. That is about it. Though there is that crucial point of economy. Fish, they can't really bring it. They shouldn't bring anything into it, let alone can't. which is going to be what they do. They're just going to bring some deagles here and there. Nothing too crazy. It's going to be that flat-out save. And for Xenex now, keeping it clean, that is the aim of the game. And arguably, again, this round is also more important. He's going to go aggressive, but walks right into the deagle of Weber. Does give Rattlesnake that M4. If he can get that to Pickles, that's an M4 backed by Kevlar, so really adding to that playmaker potential. We do have a frag grenade on. Looking at the stack, it could be good, but Rattlesnake, he gets the peek on towards Shaney. Another rifle to be garnered. The flash is going to be popped, and Peggy, hoping for the best at this elevated angle, gets himself those headshots. Finds the initial frag on towards Rattlesnake, the second on towards Pickles, now looking for the third on towards Weber. Can he end this one right before it even gets going? The answer is going to be yes. A 3K for him to be claimed as Mole. Not quite the man with the rifle. Really, all there is left of him is the unit block, and one that's quickly going to be brought to him in his own grave. As Peggy going to claim his life, totaling up to a 4K in that round. Pretty much the saving grace for Xenex, to be blunt about that, because that was getting pretty damn close, and Rattlesnake being able to find that frag with the M4 really shouldn't have been able to get away with it. He had nothing behind that, so it should have been fairly simple. Get that first shot, don't let him swivel on around, let him then find a frag on you. Either way, 14-5, of course. Xenex putting up a fight with his last two previous rounds, and for Fish, they're just looking to regain their economy at this point. They've got 3,200, give or take a couple, and then of course you've got 2,600 on Mole and Pickles. So for them, just pistols hit again, it's a given. But Cryptics with the deagle on towards Shaney, and now looking for a second. Dances with the scout is going to be playing up from above. Jakey will respond, and second. So a lot of damage to be inflicted. Money being made for the CT side, but nothing too crazy. We kind of see cleaner in general. If the bomb is going to go down for Fish, just meaning that when they do go onto the spy, it's going to be pitch perfect. And they really can't be complaining. As Pop going to be sitting right close to that train. But Mole, well, he can sit tight, but his feet still going to be showing.
Bomb has been defused. Counter-terrorists win.
Xenex putting up the good fight, but this is the test to me. This is the one I've been waiting for, because it's pretty much Xenex, they take this round, there's some credibility to their comeback. There's an ability to say, okay, they're actually making this happen. In comparison, Fish, they take this. We're looking at Xenex with really not too much left in the bank, that we could be seeing a pretty rough force-up from Xenex to try and hold things off. Of course, Mole is going to be wielding the AWP. He's going for that quick and aggressive pick, which Shaney is going to be looking to disallow. Gets himself the information. He's going to be there and gets the pick as well. So most importantly, going to be that factor. Rattlesnake will, of course, look for that trade, but Shaney, he's holding the angle. He's going to sit tight. Wait ever so patiently, gets the second. Great stuff coming out from him, and this is where things really do begin to start to take shape. Because the B site is looking to be the target of Fish. Yeah, so it's very, very stacked up. And it's also being held, so they do have a tough job to pierce on through. Stancy's going to be also there with that secondary AWP now. Nice and slow is going to be the end of the game, it seems. Towards round, the push is going to build on up, and looks like they're going to get the free pass towards the site, but it is going to be the AWP to bring things back into high gear. JT with a frag with that AK-47, and Peggy to seal the deal with a final. And they also needed frag on towards Weber for Xenex. I said that one's pivotal for them. They do the job. They get themselves to 7, and now we are looking at that possibility. Of course, they do still need to keep it going. It has to be flawless, because if they even make one mistake, their economy not 100% built up. You know, most notably looking at the JT Dancy side of things, probably Dancy the man to take the biggest hit. But hey ho, they do have one positive. Even if they do get smashed down here, they still have an opportunity to bring things back. And Shaney, he's waking up with his AWP 7-3 currently in the second half. And he's going to get another first pick on towards Mole. And now Peggy with this rifle looking to shut down and push over towards Electric. And they're just doing this one absolutely perfect. Peggy finds herself two right through the side of Electric Box. Jackie with another on towards Weber. And bit by bit, Fish getting dropped out. Xenex with the team play. The crossfires, well, making it happen. Fish, of course, their economy going to begin to get propped on up off the back of the back-to-back losses they have receiving. Of course, this is now, what, 5 in a row for Xenex? But even then, that prop-up, it's nothing that I'd sit out and go, okay, yeah, that's groundbreakingly good. Oh, they've just been handed a check of $1 million. No, it's 2,700, 2,800 here and there. Nothing really we want to be screaming from the top of our lungs at in terms of what they have in their bank accounts. So it's going to be deals spread across the board. Dancy has gone aggressive this time around, which up against pistols, potentially not the safest of course. quick flick up on towards Rattlesnake from Shaney over towards the back markers of the site. Still all eyes on towards Dances, but he's just going to hold the angle. Ideally, he can fall back now, and there's pretty much no hope of anyone getting close to crack him down. It's nice and clean from the CT side, aside from Peggy's there. And there you have it, Jakey. The snapping headshot, the one that's the crack one through, make it work. And Xenex, they do have another fight on their hands, but this time, you know, there is that huge point, one that we've always kind of glossed on past, which is now they have enough for a perfect buy no matter what. Which means that for Fish, things are starting to really get pretty damn tough. It's 14-9. That scoreline they had, that original kind of 3 rounds that Xenex was sat on, completely changed the way things have gone. Rattlesnake with the AWP will be looking for that pick, and Fish, they will try and deny the initial pickings from the Xenex side of things. That's something that has been a given from Shamey. He's been able to pry from these rounds consistently the last 2 or 3 times with this longer ranged affair. So Fish can at least shut that down. They stop them from losing that initial set of manpower, which from there leaves them much more open to go for a fully fleshed out execute. Potentially even for a pick-based play of their own. Of course, I don't want to see them do something properly over towards this B site. It's something we've been waiting to see and something they tried to do in a bit of a half-assed attempt. But it's all about doing it together when you have everything you need, the entire tool set, which they've been able to buy everything they want into this round, so no excuses for them. But Jakey, he's so aggressive, but he makes a mess of things. Rattlesnake gets himself that pick, and huge mistake coming out from Jakey. Really needs to land that. There is the upside of knocking down Rattlesnake to 23 HP. Just losing that life, not finding that pick, could have been a completely different style, because then he could have kept on pushing, put Fish in a box, and from there, they would have been forced onto B, let alone the idea of going for it. So now, Shaney, looks for that pick, will find himself that trade. So things have been somewhat repaired as there is no ability for a refrag. Cryptix is going to begin to set himself up for this push, but you have to look at these spots right now. It's a 2-man stack, left on the third position over towards Connector, and this is going to be so tough to try and push out through. Weber pull up towards Evan. Pickles trying to make the best of things, but the 2-man setup quickly dismantled as Darcy's with another pick with the AWP, and this is perfect coming out from Xenex, albeit they stuff us somewhat at the start. They repair things at the end with Darcy's and Peggy's the 2 men to walk away standing at the end, and even that doesn't really matter. We're looking at 15,350 on Shaney pre-buy. They have the money to replace these losses, and the rounds, they are the most important things. This is a momentous comeback from them at this point. 14-10 will now be the scoreline. Fish, you only need 2 rounds. You need to see something off the cuff, something strategical from them, because right now they're looking sidelined in the second half, completely just pushed on out, as Darcy's going to be looking just yet again for this entry pick. Something that Xenex have been doing to pretty solid success, and that has been the weakness of Fish. The minute they lose that first pick, they then seem to fall behind because they try and readjust, then they get caught off guard again, and it's that same sort of repositioning, almost slot-like mechanic. As they just find themselves caught off guard, giving away those picks. That is the moral of the story. Darcy's just going to be holding that angle ever so tight. The rest of Xenex over towards this A site, playing fairly passively, not wanting to contest up close and personal, should we say, as Fish, they have been more dominating with those close range fights. They are going to begin to form up some utility. Once we drop down over towards Pop Dog and Fish, they're just going to drop another through, so interesting decision by them to smoke a smoke. But let's see where they can go with this one. Is their play going to be a shaky over towards Ivy? His main goal will be to try and not die to Rattlesnake. That would be a good start, but also make sure Mole doesn't have too much of an impact. But Shaney, first line to fall. Becky should get a find the refrag here. That's going on towards Pickles. Ammo looking towards his right. If he can get down towards Rattlesnake, that'd be great. But Rattlesnake and Mole, they will combine to find themselves 2 for their own troubles. And Fish, they're making this one work completely out of the blue. We talked about only 2 rounds being needed, but Rattlesnake, another on towards JT. Dancy's a 1v3. He's over towards Pop Dog. Cryptix, going to be planning it dead set for him. So Dancy's should be a very easy frag for him to find, but then you have to add into the mix Mole. He was almost staring at the angle too, but seconds straight. And he changed it up, but now the shots have been fired. They know they may get him out of his feet. There is nothing Darcy's can do, and it is going to be the frag grenade to bob him up a step as Fish. They get themselves the match point. Xenex, on the other hand, though, I am beginning to kind of feel it for them. They've tried so hard to get to this point. Their comeback has been so great from them. And they have a lot of money to invest into things. A double op setup with 3 rifles. But the glue that has stuck them together has been these initial picks. The minute that got pried apart, wow. It's a piece of clockwork that was, well, systematically dismantled. So now there's going to be some aggression coming out from Rattlesnake. He looks for the pick, but misses the opening shot. But now he's just trying to hold it, catches off Rattlesnake, so does his job towards the end of things. Mole will, of course, be looking for a quick time to trade. The flash is going to go on out. Shot going to be missed, though. Shaney, well, if he can trade this one back, that would be ideal, but he goes for a bit more of an elevator peek and will get punished. Dances, though, with another. They're keeping things nice and close, and they have themselves a man advantage. But can they keep it together as Mole spots out Peggy? But even then, this lineup, Jakey gets away with it right through that crack. But nonetheless, Fish, they only have 2 left standing. This should be completely off the cards. They have a minute to work with, and that could be, well, a wild card per se. JT completely caught out by Weber. The unknown spot of him being over towards B, and that pulls Dances away. Just wanted to be a bit more of a distracting element. And this is perfect for Cryptics, right? Because then he can go and grab the bomb and set himself up to go for just another surprising frag on towards that one man sat towards the back of the bomb train. But it is going to be a bit more of a rotational play at that, as Peggy has had a bit of a run-in with Dances, and they have kind of swapped out where they want to be playing. Weber is going to make the step, so could potentially be known that that CT side rotate is going to come on in. So I like the idea of Peggy to push straight through in towards Pop Dog, as that's where the bomb is going to be now. It's by far the most important thing, especially with 20 seconds left. The steps are going to be made. Cryptics, he knows he needs to go hard and fast. He's going to cross on over. Weber going to hold this angle. He's waiting for Jakey to peek the pre-fire. He's going to go out, but Weber, he's still left standing. The double peek, it has to come. Jakey, the elevated angle. Smart stuff coming in from the CT side. At least it's down to Cryptics. Can he 1v3 to close this one out? It should be impossible. It shouldn't happen by a long shot. But this is Cryptics we're talking about. But he sits there dead still. That is so brutal, and the reason why I say that it's so brutal is not the round at all. He just got tapped out by Windows 10. That is what is being called by the guys right now. They're all spewing out a lot of non-PG-13 words. Can't quite go into them on stream, but you can get the picture. Windows 10 tabs you out in that situation. Yeah, I feel bad for the guy right now. He's going to be feeling it, and that does put Fish in a bit of a predicament. Xenex now on towards 11. Money is going to still be something that is retained for them, and they're back on these pistols. Dancy is just another initial pick, looking for some quick seconds and maybe even third ranks at this point, and Fish getting a bomb plant, that'd be great. Of course, they have got loss bonus being something they are aiming to not have to really get into, because by them not getting to loss bonus, it means they're actually, well, they won a round, frankly, but right now in comparison, it's looking pretty rough for them. Of course, they will have enough in the next round to hopefully piece something together, just taking a bit of a glance, and it shouldn't be too shaky. We'll have to see. It is going to be Mole to at least find one on towards Jakey. Training also will fall, but let's look at this money. Yeah, it's going to be everything they need, including the AWP. Mole going to be the man to opt if he wants to buy that one up or not. They do have the decision, of course, to decide, okay, maybe we want to go for 5 flat rifles, but I'd be very, very surprised. This is train after all, so an AWP, it's going to be a given. Xenex, on the other hand, they're not going to go for that secondary. They're actually just going to keep the singular in play, and they could have afforded that, so that's a decision from their part. Intriguing to see if that will pay off, or 50-12 have to play for overtime. But the bigger factor there is they literally can't afford to make a single mistake. One slip up and Fish, they close it out. Shaney, oh, the angle, Rattlesnake gonna keep on pushing. Should have swung out Shaney at this point, but Shaney's not quite gonna bite the trigger. Peggy gonna find the train for him. Mole over towards Pop Dog with this AWP, and we talk about mistakes being made. Well, right now, that is really what's coming back to haunt Xenex. 3v4. Well, the position of JT could throw a bit of a wrench in the works, and very excited to see what he can deliver. This comeback has been so beautiful to watch so far, but a masterpiece, it takes time. Right now, time is something Xenex are beginning to show some signs of wear and tear. It's 45 seconds is going to come up to the clock. Fish, if they want to go for this one, they have to begin to make a play. Though they do have that man advantage. They're taking it slow. It does sit towards their court right now. If they just look to force Xenex's hand, play the trading game, they whittle down these numbers, close it out with a 2v1. They're not going to be complaining, as right now, as we mentioned, they just need 3 more frags. That's all they're looking for. Dante's holding the angle nice and close now. Fish, they're going to hit towards this A site. Dante's, he has an opportunity to go absolutely huge. Finds the first pick, now looking for a quick second, but can he do it? The flash going to be looking to set itself up. Not quite going to throw it. a bit more of a defensive manner over towards Connector. Doesn't want to be pushed, but the smoke is going to go down from the plant through the smoke. But can they deny it? The answer is going to be no. But Dante's is still alive with the AWP, but it's going to be the leg shot. The nade is going to go down. Should be able to finish this one off, and it will to just the quick dunk. But it's still a 3v2. Fish, they're dwindling in numbers, but the bomb is ticking on away. However, next in line to fall. And Xenex, are they going to be able to keep themselves alive? It comes down to Mole. Can he 1v3? He's got himself the AWP in his back pocket, but this should be impossible. And JT is going to make sure the impossible stays just that. Shuts him down. The defuse will be found. And Xenex, they get themselves to a much stronger pedestal, because 15 to 13, you're looking at this economy, Fish. Not really too much they want to do here. Forcing up here wouldn't be the best call for them, so... Okay, Rattlesnake starting to invest, but the rest of the team not going to go for it. So, intriguing decision. I'm sure there is something missing behind that thought process, so I'm just going to let him do his thing. And we're going to look at the reasons of why and whether it actually pays off more than the theoretical side of things. Of course, Xenex bringing back the double AWP setup now. Let's just mention that the minute they don't double AWP, rounds get way closer. And it looks like a much tougher affair for Xenex to make this comeback happen. The minute they bring it back into play, it should be a bit of a better story. But Rattlesnake, with that force-up weapon, finds us on the first pick. Now looking for a second, but Jakey is going to shut him down. With pistols for the rest of the board, so Fish are going to have a much harder task in terms of just hopping their way on towards the site. Well, close range could be something that sits towards their portion. Plays in towards Cryptic Hand somewhat. Well, the spray down of the rifle was just so difficult to overpower, and it's an expected frag for him to find. Well, over towards the B site, going to be putting a bit more damage into the coffin of JT. Sort of rifle off the back of that, but Weber pretty much has to do something great with the Tech 9 if there is going to be any hope in this round, which, judging by the fact he's been spotted out by two separate players, and they both have his angle and both his number read up, it's not going to happen. JT right from behind pretty much ends it. Mole will find himself that headshot. But this should be, well, not quite going to happen. And, well, I say should be. Oh, we get wrecked by Tense. The Dante's just as we go into it. I'm going to shut him down a peg. So 15 to 14. One round, all that makes a difference. This is only going to go one direction. We either go to overtime with Xenex, they can play for not only the tie tag, but actually the win. Or Fish can close things out. The rifles all across the board for Fish. Pick a little on towards Rattlesnakes. Not quite a pitch-perfect setup. It's the same regard for Xenex. They don't have that double AWP, but the push is going to take shape. Fish, they're looking to go aggressive. They're trying to end this one. The spray through the smoke from Mole, but Peggy, he's going to respond. Dancing with the AWP. He misses the shot. Devastating from him. Now, can Shaney live up to the hype? Can he find the shot with the rifle? He gets the headshot on towards Pickles. Molotov, he's going to burn on away. Shaney ever so low, but Mole, he's gone aggressive. He's gone for the counterplay. Pits us in a 3 versus 3. And now he's going to be looking to get that bomb down. And Peggy, he doesn't want to peek. He wants to sit tight. He's trying to be smart about this one. He's trying to think about how he approaches it. And it's been great so far. But he gets to a line where he has to convert that brain into sheer fragging power, prowess at that. JT over towards Connector. Nades aren't going to be extended, but that bomb is going to be ticking on away. They have to go aggressive. They have to finally go up close and personal. And it's going to be a 1-for-1 frag. Weber on one, JT on the second. Taking just 24 HP. Has to drop them down. They're going in for the same angle. But things are being held. Weber, he's looking for that headshot, finds it on towards Dances, and here you go, we're coming down to the final seconds of this one. Peggy, 24 HP, peeks out, finds the headshot on towards Weber, throws the smoke down on towards the bomb. 4 seconds, 3 seconds, he's on the defuse. Cryptic's going to be looking for the headshot, but he finds the chest shot. They close it out 16 to 14. Great stuff coming out from Cryptic, still to still, but right down to the wire. That should not have been that close. Incredible stuff from both sides of the board.